Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our review of Hollow Knight. This review is, of course, I apologize, so overdue. It's so overdue. It's so hard for me to, get behind these projects for the review videos because, well, partially I'm a lazy bastard. I can admit that. I'm a little lazy. But also, I care about these videos so much, and, I care about doing them right. It takes me so long to write the script out and stuff like that because I'm just overthinking it so much. But I'm really happy to be finally making this video. I really enjoyed this game, so I'm happy to be talking about it. So let's just get straight into it. Let's start this review. I can very confidently say that this game fucks. This is one of those games where you beat it, you take a step back, and you go, damn, this game bucks. Going into Hollow Knight, I only really knew about how highly praised it was online and Silksong memes. That was really it. I didn't know what a Metrovania was, I'd never seen any gameplay, I didn't know anything. You see, people rave about this game. People love this game, at least on the internet. And I really wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to see what all the hype was about, but that meant coming in with really high expectations. And while this game has its flaws just like anything else, I'm very happy to say that I understand it now. I've been touched by the radiance, I see the light. It is a really fantastic game, but I could glaze all day. Most of you guys know how we do this review style if you guys have been around here for a while, but if you have not, this is our rubric that we do. We always use this rubric. It's not perfect, but I'm very happy with it, and let's just get right into it. Let's get into the story. Let's start this bad boy off. Oh, and as always, I 100% recommend this game, so if you have not played it yet, if you have not played this game yet, turn this off. Turn this off. Go play it, and then come back. Alright, the story in this game is one layered onion, and I don't even really fully understand it myself. I'm not going to sit here and explain the lore to you because in this video it turned into something completely different entirely, but I will say the lore is super in depth, and I really appreciate just how detailed and complete it is. I really appreciate that. In the game, you traverse the ruins of an old kingdom called Hollow Nest, and this place has history. Walking around, you can find traces of this history all around. Deserted towns, abandoned railways, decaying infrastructure. These things can be found all over the map, and they leave you as a player wondering what happened here. Which brings me to my really only issue with the story. I don't know what the hell happened here. Now, I want you to understand, I read everything I came across. I paid attention, I cared about the lore, but still I was left incredibly confused pretty much all the time. This is definitely one of those games where they really make you piece the lore together on your own, and they won't really, they're not going to make things obvious for you. You as a player really have to go out of your way to discover things and find things, and that can be fun if you're into that, but for me personally, I hate it because I just don't think it's realistic. As someone who, appreciates the lore and really tries to pay attention and enjoy it, I hate when, I can't just... when that's not enough. I have to do all these stupid side quests and all this exploring. Okay, complaining about playing the game is a little bit stupid, but it's a lot. It's too much, especially when you're just trying to take the story in naturally. It really sucks when you have to, read every item description and look at every little piece of everything to piece everything together. I wish it was a bit more straightforward and a bit more easy to digest as a just casual player. And personally, I think when the devs do it like this, it really leads to a big disconnect for the player in the gameplay. For example, when I reached my first seal holder, I don't even know what they're actually called, but I'm calling them seal holders in my review. When I reached the first one, I did not know what was going on. I didn't know if I was looking at an enemy or a friend. I assumed enemy when I first saw it, but it was crazy. I just didn't understand the gravity of what I was doing. Looking back on it, I know now that, the seal holder was kind of okay with me killing them, and, they were consenting and, kind of knowing of what was going on. For me as the player, I didn't know what was happening, man. I really didn't, and that to me was a bummer because, yeah, it just left to a big disconnect on, what was actually happening in front of me, and, the emotions that I could have been feeling were just not present because I just didn't know what was going on. And maybe that's a skill issue, maybe I didn't pay close enough attention, but I don't think that's the case. I really tried. I don't know, I think if the player tries to a certain degree and they still can't pick it up, I think that is a fault on the devs for not making it obvious enough, but let me know your guys' opinions if maybe that's a skill issue. I don't know, it's a gray area, right? But I think it should just be way more accessible, man. A lot of this lore should be a lot more accessible. Real quick, I actually want to go back to the seal holder thing because I wrote something pretty good here that I want to talk about. It's really crazy that, you have this moment where you're this person is consenting to you killing them for the greater good, if I'm even understanding that properly, which is really some heavy stuff when you think about it. And it sucks that as a player, instead of feeling that moment, that instead the memory I share is just this moment of like confusion and being lost, and it's kind of frustrating. And when you do actually kill her and come back to, you break the first seal and you come back to the world, you just see it engulfed in infection, and it makes you feel like you're making a mistake. You have this moment of like, well, why am I breaking these seals again? And the Hornet's just like, trust me. And you're like, but should I be doing this? Like, isn't the infection the bad guy? Like, should I be releasing these seals to let it run rampant? And they're just like, well, it's like, you have to beat the game, right? So get going. And you're just like, okay, I will, I guess. I hope I'm not dooming the entire planet. I mean, sometimes that's what games are, right? Like, I go into these games assuming that there's choice and good endings and bad endings, and there is in this game. But sometimes there isn't. Sometimes you are the bad guy and you're fucking just ruining the planet. And I was ready, I guess, to do that, but it just felt weird that I didn't know really what I was doing. I don't know, maybe that's a skill issue. Again, let me know what you guys felt on your first playthrough, but man, I just felt like the lore is not in your face. Very akin, and I'm going to bring this up so much in this review, but it felt very similar. It felt very similar to Dark Souls and Elden Ring and how FromSoft people do their lore, because oh my god, I hate that too, where it's just like, yeah, you want to know about what happened to these people? We gotta like kill them and look at the item description on their weapon to find out their lore. It's like, oh my god, yawn. So I don't know, I felt that frustrating, and I really didn't like that for the story, but I will say, of course, the story is amazing. If you watch YouTube videos on the side, oh my gosh, the lore is really, really good. I don't fully understand it myself, but I can really appreciate the level of detail and thought that went into that from the devs. It's pretty awesome. I think one possible solution to this disconnect problem that at least I had was, I just think a quest tracker would be so beneficial, or some kind of journal that updates as you travel and play the game. I think it would be super beneficial, just like a place where I can go back, look at dialogue that was said to me, or go back and refresh on exactly like what my current character's goals are, what I'm doing. Because I feel like the game tries to naturally dump lore onto you, which does feel organic and natural, and there's a lot of benefits to that. I'll talk about that actually in the character part a little bit. And it is nice, but I just feel like overall it was very frustrating to interact with the story, at least for me. Again, tell me what you guys felt. I don't know, man. It was very frustrating for me to interact with the story the way that I just felt like I didn't know where I was going. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing in these places a lot of the time, and I was trying to read everything and put it together, but maybe I just got to a point where I got so behind on the lore, it didn't matter what they were telling me. I couldn't piece it all together. I don't know, man. It was very, very frustrating. So for me, personally, I think that I'm going to give story a solid 10 out of 15. Mostly giving those 5 points, those 5 missing points, to the wonderful YouTubers that made amazing, amazing lore videos for me to understand what the hell is going on. And yeah, I don't know. The lore is amazing. It is really good. It is really detailed. There's so much that's worth looking for and paying attention to. And of course, I like the different ending options too. I really appreciate when games have that. But I don't know, it just felt very hard to interact with. I think that's the best way to put it. It was very frustrating to just not know what the heck was going on, man. Especially when the story is so quality, you don't want to miss that, man. You don't want to miss that. Alright, characters. Characters was a very hard one for me to grade. You don't really interact with many different characters for all that long. There are many that stand out. The blacksmith, of course, the nail masters, the stag station, of course, the old man on the surface, but you just don't really interact with them in the same way you do in a game like Amori or even Pikmin to an extent. Everyone truly feels like a stranger that you just happen to run into in the endless maze that is Hollow Nest. And at first I saw this as a negative, because you just really don't get to connect with anybody. But as I wrote the script, I kind of realized there's more than one way to really feel a character's impact, and that goes beyond just your connection with that character. Running into these NPCs really made traveling the underground immersive. They're also unique and detailed. All these NPCs have their own goals or beliefs, and some even had no interest in talking to me or interacting with me at all. And it really made things feel really natural, because the maze can really, really be rough and confusing. And sometimes just seeing an NPC can fill you with hope and excitement that there's a break from the maze itself, Seeing a person and just seeing dialogue is just really a bright spot in your gameplay. At least for me, it was so awesome to see people. And even if you don't connect with these characters, there's just so many that you, you have these moments with that are a bit memorable, and they just make the underground feel so much more alive than it would be without them. And I really appreciate that. And that's not to say you don't connect with characters either. There's many in the underground that you'll meet, and they will come back to the surface and kind of bring more life to the original town that you were in. You can go back to them and learn about them, and I really enjoyed that. You know, there was the girl with like her diary, and there was the old man with his fantasies, and I really enjoyed both of them a lot. I thought it was pretty funny how she kind of looked up to him, and you can kind of get those moments that I was kind of looking for, even though the game's not really about that. So I really, really appreciated that. I thought it was awesome. The characters were really, really detailed, and like I said before, I just really appreciated how they had their own motives. They kind of felt like they were doing their own thing. I really, really liked that. Designs were awesome. I'll kind of talk about that later also with the art style, but they're just using the bugs as like these different races, I guess, to put them in, and just like having their own cultures. It was really incredibly creative and really awesome. I really, really like that. So for the characters, I'm giving them a 13 out of 15. Like I said, there's not much to say because you just don't interact with them that much, but I don't know. It's like when you do interact with them, it's actually just really powerful and really, not maybe powerful is the wrong word. It's just very special. It was very very enjoyable during gameplay. So I think a 13 out of 15 is very, very positive. I'm down for that. This number changed a ton when I was writing the script. I really didn't know how I felt about the characters, but now that I've got this locked in, I'm pretty happy with it. No more changing. 13 out of 15 makes me very happy. Alright, music. I'm gonna keep it real. Some people might not like it. Here it is. Hollow Knight music is slightly unmemorable. Now, that's not to say that's bad songs. They just didn't stick out to me as I was playing. Now, despite this, I'm giving music in Hollow Knight a 12. Now, you might be like, well, what the fuck, man? You said that you said Pikmin music was unmemorable, and you gave it a 7. So what's the difference? Why is this a 12? Good question. I'm glad that you asked it. And I didn't force that question onto you. The difference is as simple as atmosphere. In Hollow Knight, the music is constantly playing in the background, matching whatever area you're in, both setting the tone and making the experience more enjoyable. This is something that Pikmin just did not do. I'm not going to freak out on Pikmin right now. This is not the time. But you just walk around in silence. It's crazy. It is crazy to me. And I bring it up, again, like, not to shit on it, but because you can really see the difference in just how important the two are. Like, your music doesn't need to be anything insane or crazy. It just needs to fit the atmosphere and just add to the level and add to just everything going on. I think, here's the Undertale guy talking about Toby Fox again. Toby Fox had such a good angle at this, where I felt like Omori music had better quality music, but the way that Toby knows how to like make a song match the atmosphere is so important, and it's so good when everything is just hitting right, you know what I mean? And Hollow Knight did this near perfectly, to be honest. You know, whether it's boss fights, unique landmarks, character themes, Hollow Knight nails all of the background music. I really do think that. With that said, like I said before, nothing really stood out to me. Nothing really blew me away. And maybe part of that is it's just not my style of music. You know, even going back now and listening to some songs that are really, really good, I'm not sure why I had this impression of just unmemorableness. You know, they're really, really good. To bring up examples, Broken Vessel and Hornet's main theme song are both really, really amazing, grand, orchestral songs. And I really respect them and think they're cool. But I think in general, I just resonate with happy, upbeat music a bit more. You know, something a bit more similar to the Omori style. I think I just kind of resonate, I guess, with that music a little bit better. But I think the music in Hollow Knight is undeniably respectable, and it's undeniably quality. Just didn't hit for me, and again, was a bit unmemorable. But fit the atmosphere, made you feel the moments. Really, really awesome. Giving that a 12. To simply say this game is gorgeous is too general and does not give nearly enough credit to the thought and effort that went into the graphics and art style of Hollow Knight. Now, there are YouTube videos out there already that will explain this much better than I will right now. So please, seriously, if you like this kind of stuff, you should watch those videos because they did awesome, awesome work with Hollow Knight. But I'm going to try and give my best reasoning on why I think it's quality. To start off, everything in this game is obviously hand-drawn. It shows in the unique art style of the game. You know, it's just really fun and cartoony, but it's also like weighted and serious when it needs to be. Areas can kind of go from this colorful and fun vibe to really dark and mysterious, and it will happen very quickly and naturally. The range of the emotions the areas can make you feel is really refreshing and interesting, especially, like I said before, when you're just traveling through this maze and getting frustrated. Seeing new lands really feels awesome. Character designs also, of course, are great. They all stem from this idea that all the citizens of Hollow Nest are bugs. There's different kinds of bugs. There's the mantis, the beetles, the bees, the moths, whatever the hell this thing is. It's just so smart because there's so many different kinds of bugs out there, and it creates this endless supply of creative inspiration for the dev team. Literally, if you don't have an idea for a design, go outside, look at the grass, just stare at a spot on the ground for 10 minutes. A bug will probably come crawling by, and boom, you have your next enemy or your next character. It's really, really awesome. It's really smart and very, very fun. And it also creates this dynamic of, like, the bees, they live over here, and they live like this, and the mantis, they're like a war society, and they live over here. It's so interesting, and seeing everything just, like, mesh together, and everyone live in this world of Hollow Nest, it's really, really cool and really, really smart. But right now, let's just talk about how the game looks. Look at this clip. I really want to highlight the levels of depth being displayed. There's a bench in the foreground, there's buildings in the background, and they're at different depths of each other of the different buildings. They're moving across the screen at different speeds. There are images in the foreground overlapping the character. There's street lamps that are thrown at different depths, and just everything is on a different depth level than something else, and it creates this crazy immersive effect that really sells you. It really is impressive. I'm gonna try very hard to find a very important clip of the map of Hollow Nest put on its side, and it really just shows it's not just one big drawn picture. There's elements, there's objects thrown all about to really sell this effect of different depths and making the 2D world feel almost like 3D. I don't know what the right words are. It's just so awesome, so cool what they did with the visuals, and it just goes to show that, like, you don't need to, like, go for hyper realism. I feel like AAA games have this hyper fixation on hyper realism, and it's just so cool to see something that's not trying to be realistic. I mean, okay, there's other games. I'm going on a tangent. I just think it's cool what they did. I think it's cool the effort they put in. I think that they hit a level where it was good enough, and they went way past that, and they put way more effort to go past that, and I appreciate that. I respect that. And it's a $15 game. We'll talk about that next, but oh my god, these guys are the best. I've also forgot to put the score. If it's not clear from the glaze, easy 15 from me. Hollow Knight, 15. Graphics. Alright, I apologize. I glazed too hard. We gotta reel it back. We gotta bring it back. Fucking psych. This game is a 5 out of 5 price. $15 motherfucking dollars, okay? Listen, I made this category up as a fluke to shit on bad games, but I'm gonna glaze this game real quick, okay? For the price of a goddamn Big Mac meal, you can experience maybe 35 hours of a truly magical gameplay experience. I'm glazing too hard, actually, my fault. But dude, seriously, in a game where AAA games are pushing $70, it's just crazy and really awesome to have affordable options for people, especially when it's like, I mean, you could buy it on Switch or whatever, right? But it's like sometimes you buy a PC or a console and it's like this big purchase. It costs so much, right? And just having games that are cheap that you don't have to invest into to play and enjoy, it's actually important. It seriously is. I appreciate that a lot. Alright, this is either going to be the best part of the video or the worst part of the video because there's a lot to the gameplay, man. I have notes for my notes on gameplay. I'm just going to hit the record button and just start freaking rambling. But the gameplay is really, really quality, of course. There's so much to it. There's platforming aspects, there's, the movement aspect, exploration aspect, getting lost in the maze itself. There's all these different builds you can do with the charms. Combat is so, what's the word? It is good. Combat is so good. There's so much to talk about, but let's just get into it. I think the first thing to talk about is movement. Movement. It starts off very simple, which I think is important. You have that first opening area where you kind of just jump around things. And I think when I first started playing it, I thought it was like a platformer game primary. I was very, just jumping around, getting into it. But as you kind of explore the map, each map kind of has its new movement that, you unlock. So for example, right very quickly in the early game, you get that midair dash. And that midair dash not only makes your movement more complex, but now it opens up areas that you previously couldn't get to. And that same rule applies for everything that you find. You'll find things that make your I don't want to use the dash again as an example. There's the one that makes the acid swimmable, so you can start swimming in acid. And then now you can swim in the lakes and get the places that you previously couldn't have. it really opens up a lot. And it was very frustrating actually at first because I didn't understand that that was a key. You know, if you don't know that there's new movement in every zone, you might leave a zone, you know, you might reach, you know, figure the maze out without finding the movement, which, because you don't always need the movement. And that can really be a hiccup for later, because if you miss movement, or if you miss unlocks, it can really soft lock you later. Not soft lock, you won't get stuck in any areas, but you won't be able to progress without certain movements. So getting the trick and figuring out that there's so many movement options to unlock is very important. And it was fun. It was fun. Maybe a little frustrating at points, but I like how diverse the movement is. And not only that, but there's almost endgame movement bosses. Man, what's it called? Like the Hall of Hell or something like that. The something. Man, I wish I should. Oh, I'm gonna look it up. Hold on. Oh no, I remember. It was the Path of Pain. The Path of Pain. That shit is badass. I myself have not completed it. I actually recorded myself going about it a little bit, but I never finished it. Never really got finished. I finished it somewhere, but I never beat the Path of Pain. I never beat the full game. I think I got somewhere around 82% completion. I wanted to actually 100% it. I really like the game enough to 100% it. I just didn't really get around to it. Gosh, I gotta look at actually like my actual percentage, but I really enjoyed the Path of Pain. I thought that was cool that there's like endgame for the movement as well. Yeah, the movement has really cool skill ceilings to it. It makes probably the speedrunning aspect of the game really fun too. Movement is very sick, very complex. I like that. And combat is very similar to that. Combat starts off very basic. You know, you have your nail, you hit things and they die. That's pretty much it. But it really gets complex, you know, when you start to open up the ideas of, you know, hitting on the bottom will refresh your jump, and it kind of gives you almost like a shield. Like your sword almost becomes a shield in a lot of places, especially for gravity. You know, even using the spikes, it kind of ties back into the movement, you know, when you can hit the spikes. The combat is really fun. There's nothing crazy. A lot of Dark Souls comparisons are going to come up in this part of the video. I think Dark Souls is obviously like more complex, but I don't know, it's like less focused on the combat and more of a platforming aspect. It's like they mixed up the platformer and the combat aspect together. So, you know, it's not like super like crazy intense, but bosses are fun. Bosses are challenging. You know, you have to slowly kind of learn them and do them a couple times. So I do like that actually a lot. I think the combat is cool. And that kind of ties into like the charms. The charms are so awesome because the charms are really how you kind of express your style of gameplay and kind of how you express yourself. Kind of do the builds and all that stuff like that. I thought that was really awesome. There's so many different kinds of charms. They're literally everywhere. It makes exploration really rewarding because you're always finding them, and it all ties together really well. I really like that. And I actually wanted to talk about exploration for a little bit because, you know, everybody loves Elden Ring. I'm going to talk about Elden Ring for a little bit. Elden Ring is the GOAT, right? Everybody loves Elden Ring. Your mom loves Elden Ring. Everybody. And people always say, you know, it's such a great open world game and all that stuff. But I had a really big problem with Elden Ring's open world. And my biggest issue was I did not feel motivation to explore. And I thought about it a lot. And I just think for me, the issue with exploration was there wasn't a lot of reason outside of like, you know, trying to figure out where to actually go to progress the story. But when you would find a cave or something new, for me at least, there was no reason to explore. Why was that? I felt like the loot was very spread out in terms of usability. So for example, let's say you're playing Elden Ring, and if you don't play Elden Ring, this analogy is going to get lost on you. But let's say you're playing Elden Ring and you're on a dex build, okay? Only dex items are useful for you. Dex weapons, dex armor, dex keystones. Those are what are useful for you. Strength is useless. Intellect is useless. Faith is useless. All the other options, right? They're not useful for you. So let's say you're running a strength build. Big ass hammer, big ass sword. Fuck yeah. You do a dungeon. You finally beat the boss and you drop some wand. It feels kind of shitty. And obviously, yeah, you could spec into the wand, but realistically, the game doesn't give you that many eggs to respawn at Renala for. I mean, there's a lot, right? I think per save, there's like at least 20 or maybe around the realm of 20. But there's way more than 20 quality items in Elden Ring. There's way more, and you can't realistically use them all. I don't know. To me, that felt very shitty. I compare it to something like Breath of the Wild, where Breath of the Wild has kind of the opposite problem. Now, I say all this to now bring in Hollow Knight, where I felt like Hollow Knight actually killed that middle ground of You know, Breath of the Wild is the same thing over and over again, super boring, whereas Elden Ring is just like, it's too much variety. It's like you're not always going to be able to use everything. Hollow Knight was really awesome because it's very clear what you're looking for. Okay, you're either looking for maps, charms, or what are the actual things called? They're not called bonfires, but the the benches, the stag stations. What else? What else am I looking for? I don't know. Probably other things, but most importantly, with those things that I just named, all of them are useful all of the time. You always need your map. You always need a bench. You always need the stag station. Maybe not always for the charms. The charms are kind of where you get that variance of like sometimes it's good for your build, sometimes it's not good for your build. But that's good, right? Like you want that RNG aspect too. You want to come across the charm and be like, oh, what'd I get? What'd I get? You know what I mean? That is super important. So I just think Hollow Knight really nailed the exploration part of it. I think like there's just so many good reasons to explore, and no matter how you're playing the game, they're useful for you, and I think that is super important. It's super important. Obviously, I love currency in video games. It's just like the easy dopamine from a dev perspective. Like, just make every enemy you fight drop a little bit of money and have something to spend the money on. It's very fun, at least for me. It just feels like, you know, every time you run past an enemy, you just like, hit them. Why not? Just hit them, because get a little bit of money, it will slowly build up over time, and you know, maybe you'll find an old lady in this train station and give it all to her and have to come beat her down for it later, which I thought was super fun. That was awesome. But yeah, currency, I love currency in video games. I love accumulating the money and spending it on things, and it just kind of makes you feel like you have impact, right? You have these choices on what to spend it on. You know, everyone's going to buy different things, and that's, you know, it's all about character expression, right? That's fun. I like that. One thing I will say, though, I don't know, did I talk about this? It is so easy to get lost in this game. It's very frustrating. Part of it has to do with, you know, like I said before, you just don't really know what you're doing, why you're doing anything, where you're supposed to be going. You're just like walking and hoping that you get the next, you know, cutscene or whatever, boss battle that you haven't seen yet. So that was very frustrating to me. I constantly found myself just like walking around not knowing what to do. And because I was doing, you know, I was trying to record for the YouTube channel, I didn't want to look up other YouTube videos to like, you know, fuck with my experience. I want to try and be a blind playthrough, but this is not a good blind playthrough game in my opinion. Like, I just got lost so much. Maybe it's a skill issue, fair play. I don't think so, honestly. I don't. Okay, I'll fight you. I'll argue about it. I will. It was just so painfully confusing. I just didn't know where to go. Didn't know where I was going. And like I said before, the movement thing, like, man, dude, I had the one moment. I'll probably find the gameplay. It's on the recording. I didn't know where to go, right? So I started on my mini map, going to every dead end, and you know, you'd get there and there'd be a movement thing that you can't do because you don't have it unlocked yet. So I would put a freaking thing on the mini maps, a marker saying, okay, we already checked this one. Yeah, gotta go check the next one. And I was doing that for the whole map. I was running around the entire map, looking at every dead end that I couldn't get through, trying to figure out which one I could now get through. It was super painful. And I guess, you know what, worst case scenario, just watch a guide while you play. You really should play the game that way, honestly, but yeah, if you want that blind playthrough, you are going to get lost, man, and it is frustrating. I was very frustrated. Dude, I have like a 3-episode streak, I think, where I was just depressed the whole time. It was so much pain, so, oh my goodness, man. That was really painful. The getting lost experience, I think the game could have done a little bit of a better job just kind of nudging you in the right direction. But man, yeah, I don't know. Tell me what you guys think on that too, because again, maybe skill issue. I like everyone that you meet and you interact with. Of course, Hornet is like a very big one that I feel like I haven't talked about yet that I should. You know, she was really interesting. You don't really get to talk to her like that much. You know, I know like the beginning part, she doesn't really trust you, so a lot of it's trying to earn that trust. But even when she does, it just feels like you don't really get to talk to her. And I know that she's the main character of Hollow Knight Silksong, like the next game coming out, so it kind of is weird that I don't really know her that well. And I do know like one of her mom is something like that. It's like one of the seal bearers. I don't know, man. There's a lot going on that I still really went over my head, but I felt like I should mention her. Same with the old man. The old man really stands out and was very significant, but his story just never like panned out. I was always waiting for it to pan out and like waiting for like, you know, his story to like become the focus, and it never really did. So maybe I missed certain quests, but I don't think I did, honestly. I don't know. I think he was just the old guy that was still in the village, and maybe that's all there was to him. I don't know. Maybe I gotta refresh on these lore videos too, because I am recording this painfully long after my Hollow Knight playthrough. It is bad. It is really bad, but it is what it is. As far as the different endings go, I really don't have much to say to them because, again, like, a lot of the lore just flew over my head. I know there's different endings, and I really appreciate games that have different endings, but, oh my goodness, man. It's definitely one of those where, it's probably a fun Easter egg if you actually go through the work and figure it out on your own. Whoever did that, you're a freak, because I did go into a bit of it. Man, I had a moment where, oh my gosh, I actually want to look it up, because I want to say this properly. It was so ridiculous. Okay, this is a mess. So, first off, if you want to even attempt the quest to get the good ending, you need something called a Void Heart. Now, Void Heart is very simple. All you need for a Void Heart is to get yourself a King's Soul. Now, the King's Soul comes in 2 different pieces. One you get from a lady called the White Lady. This is pretty easy. You just gotta hunt her down and get it from her. The other half comes from a guy named the Pale King. This is not so easy. Now, to find the Pale King, you need to find a place called the White Palace, okay? Now, to find the White Palace, you need something called an Awakened Dream Nail. Once you get that Awakened Dream Nail, which, by the way, requires 1,600 souls to awaken. Once it is awakened, you need to find some place called the Ancient Basin. When you get to the Ancient Basin, you can then find the Pale King, which gets you the King's Soul, which gets you the Void Heart. And also somewhere in there, you should find the Shade Cloak, which is very important. That's a lot. That is a lot. I specifically remember having like 3 different windows open, and it was just like this, it's like those videos where they like go from a paperclip to a car. It's like, yeah, you're taking one item to turn it into another item, to turn it into another item. You're just doing this chain reaction. But I actually liked that. It was fun. It gave you a reason to like explore and go around the map. It was just so funny how like you go into this objective of like, okay, I'm going to do the good ending. Okay, I just need this item. Okay, I need 2 items to get the 1 item. That's okay. Oh, I need an item to get one of the item of the 2 items. Oh god, and it just goes on forever. So that was pretty crazy, but I liked it a lot. It was fun. Obviously, I love the Arena of Fools. That was really, really fun. Is the last one completable? It has to be. They didn't code an infinite fucking line of enemies. But bro, it's so hard, man. I gave it a good week. I really put effort into it. I treated that thing like it was Sans. I treated it like it was Radon. I locked in. It's hard, man. I definitely gave up. I think that was probably when I started doing the Path of Pain, was when I gave up on that. That is hard stuff. If you've beaten that, you're about it. Okay, you're about it. It's actually a great display of like the difficulty levels the game can provide. Like, it can really vary on what you do. So I like that. I like that a lot. But oh my god, dude. It made me feel like a fool, that's for sure, trying it over and over and over again. The Coliseum or the Arena of Fool, whatever it's called. I was a fool. It was very, very fun. I liked that a lot. I'm trying to think of like what else to talk about. I have this like nagging feeling that I'm not saying everything, and I just want to get everything out now, but there's just no way I'm missing stuff. Progression's really good. I like the way you naturally get stronger, you naturally get more soul, naturally get more health. One thing I didn't like is, and other games do this too, not just Hollow Knight. The rate at which you upgrade your nail feels very on par with the rate at which enemies, progress as well. And I don't like that because, you get these moments where, okay, let's say you're in Zone 1, right? And in Zone 1, the mosquitoes die to 1 hit, and most ground humanoid bugs will die to 2 to 3 hits. When you get to the next zone, you feel the difference because the mosquitoes go from 1 hit to 2 hits. The guys on the ground go from 3 to 4 to like 4 to 5, or whatever I said before, like 2, 3 to 4, 5, whatever. You feel things get tankier. And then you upgrade your sword, and then it goes back. The mosquitoes that were 2 hit are now back to 1 hit. The guys that are 4 hits are now back to 2, 3. And that's good, right? Because it makes you feel the progression of your weapon system. But it's not like you're getting a new weapon. It's just weapon is upgraded. Damage is increased. So you get into this like repetitive nature of like nothing is ever changing. The mosquitoes always die to 1 hit. It doesn't matter if you're in the 1st zone, the 3rd zone, the 5th zone. They go from being, like literally, it doesn't matter if you're going from 1 to 2 or 3 to 4 or 5 to 6 in terms of zone count. Like, you're always going to be at a point where the current mosquitoes die to 1 hit, the new mosquitoes die to 2 hit. And when I upgrade my sword, then we're just gonna go up the chain, and it feels just like everything is always the same. I hope I'm explaining that properly. I feel like I'm not, but you know what I mean? Like, everything is always the same. The mosquitoes always die the same amount, and the humanoids always die the same amount. And realistically, it's not a problem. I think a lot of other games do this too. I can't really list any off the top of my head, but I'm sure you guys can. Like, this is a common thing for video games. But, I don't know, man. Yeah, it did feel kind of lame. It did feel kind of shitty, but I think that's a very small frustration to have with the game. I think the way they did progression is really, really good. Honestly, like, everything feels good. You feel yourself getting stronger. You feel, you make choices to make that happen too. Sometimes you buy the mask shards or something, whatever, right? And also it adds that element of like loot. Sometimes you get loot that is a soul shard or a mask shard. I forget what they're called, but it's fine. It really is fine. But I wanted to mention that because it's just a small thing that I see a lot, and I don't like it. I think total, my summary for gameplay is it's honestly near perfect. I think everything is really great. Like, there's nothing that's like crazy, amazing, standout, awesome, but there's very few flaws. I would say my only flaw is just like, it's very easy to get lost in the maze. It's a maze. It's like a freaking. It is a maze. You're supposed to get lost, but sometimes you get a little too lost for too long. I think that's a little bit frustrating. Playing the game with and without a map is a stark difference, but I think that's intentional, so it's fine. Not a lot really in terms of negatives to say about the game. A lot of positives. I very much enjoyed it. For the gameplay, I'm going to give it a 30 out of 35. Damn good score, and it really does deserve it. Hollow Knight is really an amazing game, and that's going to bring our total score. Let me pull it up actually, because I don't have it immediately in front of me. Our total score is going to be 85 for Hollow Knight. I think that's totally deserved. I think what is that, like a B+? I mean, solid B. Honestly, saying that out loud, that does feel a bit, maybe a bit low, honestly, for how much I was glazing it earlier. I really do like this game a lot, but, I like to keep this list, the rating strict, too, also. This game is not without its flaws, that is for damn sure. You can watch my gameplay, or my playthrough, and see the moments where I do not have fun. It is very clear. So it's not perfect, and I think a lot of it really has to do with how little they hold your hand. I don't want to say it like that, because I like when games don't hold your hand, but they just really, it's not that they don't hold your hand, it's that they fucking kick you in a dark room, like fucking Sparta kick you into the room, and then they slam the door behind you and lock it. You know what I mean? It's a bit of a difference. But that's really my only issue. The game is amazing, amazing, amazing. If you have not played this game, you need to play it before Silksong comes out, because when Silksong comes out, I think it might break the planet, and you want to be a part of that. Come on, don't act like you don't. So yeah, I would really recommend playing this game. I always say if the game gets a recommendation or not on the reviews, this is obviously a recommendation. I really, really enjoyed it. Probably the best quality game I've played on the channel so far. I think it's a better game than Amori, like, objectively. I shouldn't say that. That's such a weird way to put it. I think it's a better game than Amori, though, like, for the average person. If I wanted to get a friend to try a game out and enjoy it, I'd probably give them Hollow Knight. However, I did personally enjoy Amori a lot more. Maybe a lot more is ridiculous. I enjoyed Amori more, though, because Amori was a very powerful story. It really hit me. I liked it a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just comparing it, I guess, to other games I've done reviews on. But this is a good time to wrap. We're coming up on like 40 minutes. Oh, gosh, 40 minutes, man. 40 minutes. So, yeah. And even now, I just feel like I haven't talked about everything. I feel like I just rambled a lot. So maybe I'll cut things down to editing, or maybe I'll even add more things later. I don't know. But I appreciate you guys very much for watching. 85, I'm very happy with that score for Hollow Knight. I think it's very much deserved. You should play this game. You should play it. That's all I gotta say. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know your guys' opinions. How would you grade Hollow Knight using my grading oh my gosh, sorry. Get the hiccups. How would you grade Hollow Knight using my grading sheet? Where would you change? What would you say differently? Please let me know. You guys know I respond to all comments, so please feel free to comment if you would like to, and I will catch you guys all in the next one. Hopefully it's not a long time. Hopefully it's a very short amount of time. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you later. Goodbye.